Good evening and welcome to Têkkel Thursday. We are back. We are back in an earlier slot as normal. That's dit wat ons sou aan kan doen nie. Wat gaan nie aan in Alberich? Stage 6. Stage 6.
Ek dink geweet ons kan na stage 6 toe gaan nie, man. South Africa just surprises you every day. So yeah, we live in a country with great surprise. Well, I won't say great, but surprises. So yeah, maar een van die dinge en dis hoekom ons tyd gemaak het om ons usual slot te skuif. Natuurlik word ek geïmpakteer deur loadshedding op die kop 8uur. Ons gas wat ons sou opgehad het is geïmpakteer deur loadshedding tussen 6 en 8. Ons is op stage 6. Die Tour de France is op die oomblik aan die gang. Ek weet nie is of hulle by stage 6 is nie, maar ons is alreeds by stage 6 van loadshedding. Ek weet regtig nie. Mense, hulle impakteer dan nou vir ons hier op Têkkel, maar ons maak 'n plan nie, Alberich. Nee, ons moet 'n plan maak. Ons moet 'n bietjie gesels. Daar's baie oor gesels vanaand. Daar's ons nou vroeër gepraat daarvan. There's a lot to catch up on, and just to, with regards to the rugby this past weekend. Let's hope the lights stay on up until we finish our discussions.
Yeah, let's hope so. We're going to try and keep the discussions very short, but there's always room for your discussions, guys. Almal daar so aanlyn, goeienaand. Welkom by die Têkkel Talk Show. Welcome to Têkkel Live. We are live chatting to you. And like you saw, we're going to chat some rugby. We had some international rugby. So get that comments in, speak to us. We had some fan mail. We're going to show you some of the fans' action, but also some tongue-in-the-cheek comments as well. So let's get that comments in. If you're live on YouTube, if you're live on Facebook, please do make time to get those comments in. Alberich, Springbok rugby is terug en ons is weer bly om toets rugby op ons kassie te sien.
Nee, 100%. Jy praat van Springbok rugby is terug, maar daar's ook hy tense moments wat vir jou net hierdie al jou hare uittrek en jy raak net 'n bietjie gryser, as ook op by die 80ste minuut. But what a game, what a comeback by the Springboks, to be down at that moment. But there was never a doubt, I think, for the Springboks to get back. They always had it in them. And they just needed that spark. And we call it rustiness, call it the fact that these guys are, they're coming from all across the world and they're coming together and they finding each other after a week or two. It might call it that maybe. But at the end of the day, it was a now scraps event. Wales, to actually deserve to win that game. They could. Yeah. I mean, to go down with so many yellow cards, and also to which was actually a bit of a shocking try at the end, towards the end when they actually mauled the box with 13 men. Some I would say warning signs, but some things that would definitely to make right come this weekend.
No, for sure. And I think you've touched on quite a few things, and I think that is what we're going to try and talk about tonight, and maybe give the viewers our insight as well in terms of what we saw. Yeah. And one of the things that you've mentioned, Alberich, is the first half struggle of the Springboks. A lot of people, zooming into the Elton Yankees performance. I think Elton Yankees on the evening was very, very poor in terms of his execution of basic functions at the number 10. But I think what we need to ask, and we need to ask the hard questions, is how sustainable is the current Bok game plan? I think it's something that Jacques Nienaber and his coaching staff needs to think about very, very hard. If you get a team that centralize their defensive setup by getting good aerial field players, when we saw the wings of Wales and also the fullback of Wales being very good in the air. They really nullified Mapimpi and Cheslin Kobe in the air. And then also in the first half, the Springboks going to the line twice and just got blocked at the maul. And they couldn't move. I think I could see the surprise on Bongi Mbanambe's face when the Springboks maul didn't go anywhere. And I think it's well prepared, side that neutralize those Springbok strong points. Yeah. The question then should be asked, what is plan B? If you have a guy like a Damian Willems, you have a guy like a Lucanio Am, you have a fly-up like Elton Yankees, how fast can we as a Springbok side adapt and then obviously try and do something different that the opposition does not necessarily expect. And I think that is a worrying sign, because our opponents will now be better prepared to face the brunt of the Springbok forward play.
Yeah, 100%. I think you need the nail on the head. What is our plan B? As also plan B, skop ek eers in die laaste 20 minute af, and then if it is that, when you bring on a value, or even in the past we brought on Elton Jantjies in the last 20 minutes, and then you see us being able to play and pass the ball, then in that case, then why pick Elton for that spot in that beginning role if your game plan is suited to him kicking? To your point about Elton, and there's going to be a lot of discussions our entire week. Ons ken die man se klas. Let's put it out there. We know the amount of skills that Elton has. He's brought us out of many difficult situations. I mean, if you think of us in Wellington against that big win that we had against the All Blacks, I think it was in 2018 or 2019, coming up against the in the second half in last year's match against the All Blacks as well. He showed some deft touches, man. This guy, we know he can play. There's obviously a few factors. The fact that he hasn't played this year, there's a few factors that plays into that role that he couldn't necessarily pitch on the day. But we know the class of Elton. With that said, the game plan is a kicking game plan. We know that the Boks are looking at kicking at every ball. The Fafs have been doing it pretty well over the last year and a bit. Obviously not in last week's game, but is the game plan suited to Elton Jantjies? Would you rather have him come up in the second half when the game is a bit open, and have those deft touches needed to score the try? Are we just a team that's going to make sure that we lead by 10 points or 5 points and defend? Or are we going to just, once we're behind the 8 ball, are we going to start playing rugby? Those are the hard questions that should be asked. From my point of view, I felt Elton was kind of thrown under the bus with his selection. Yes, but at the same time, he had a horrible game. I mean, there was some basic errors that you can't you can't blame jet lag. The fact that he didn't kick a ball out on a penalty, kick a ball out into the Welsh 22. That is it's unforgivable. It's just the fact that he couldn't do that. It would be expected from a quality fly-off, and that which we know he can, which he is at least. So I think a lot of questions that should be asked around this selection.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I've read a lot of things about Elton Jantjies this week again. As if we have a very short memory span as Springbok supporters, very short. You're always as good as your last game, and that is perhaps not true, but it is true in South African fan language. The problem about this game plan, and even a guy like Damian Willemse, he is not tailored for this type of game plan. I'm telling you this because it's actually a very basic psychological reason for it. You get instinctive players, so there's guys that play what they see in front of them. Now, the moment they need to start going through a mind map to think, okay, die coach het gesê van die fase af moet ons daar speel en van daai fase af moet ek die bal vir Colby skop en daarvan af gaan ons 'n line-out opsit. Daar's te veel goed in daai players se kop. And that is not the type of players that's even a Willie Leroux. You're not going to get the best out of those players. 100. They are guys, what you see is what you get. The moment you give them a roadmap, ons gaan nou daar speel, dan die forwards op, dan daar, they are bound to fail. And it's not that they are poor rugby players. Then they must drop Elton Jantjies completely out of the squad, or they must say, Elton, jy sit op die bank en die laaste 20 meter, go and fire them up. Because if you think about the Lions team that dominated Super Rugby, with Ruan Janse van Rensburg, Lionel Mapu in the center, Skosan, Ruan Kombrink became a Springbok out of that side. You had Coetzee that became a Springbok out of that side. You had Faf de Klerk and Elton Jantjies pulling the strings for that Lions team. And the reason for that was you had John Mitchell and Carlos Spencer telling those two guys, go and play what you see in front of you.
Yeah.
And Elton Jantjies is the best player in South Africa at fly-off when he plays flat on the gain line when he's really flat and really moving the ball around from side to side, passing guys into space. If they want him to kick an aerial game, he's going to fail next week. He's going to fail the week after that. It's not part of his DNA. He can have a good game now or then, but I think they need to obviously think hard about how they're going to utilize Elton Jantjies. Because if they're going to utilize him in the manner that they did last week, Manie Libbok, Jordan Hendrikse will surpass him as the second best flyer in this country very, very easily. And we will not see the best of Elton Jantjies.
No, absolutely. And I think that's the feeling, when you see that first off and you think, yes, Elton. Yeah, you so want him to succeed because he's had a lot of chances. And we know. Ons het gesien wat die man doen vir die Lions destyds. En hoe hy gespeel het. And it's not like he's playing with, he has a solid pack of force, which they didn't do the job in the first half, which is another story. But he has the fuss that's familiar to him that played with him in that winning Lions team.
Yeah.
But that said, you wait for that moment, for that Elton Jantjies breakthrough moment where he's like, this is the Elton we've been waiting for. There's a certain part of me, and I want to play devil's advocate for a second here, is the fact that, we know the quality he has, right? And yes, he's playing in a game plan that not necessarily suited to his style. The question would arise then, what about a guy like Willie that comes on? Willie plays, Willie style. Willie plays, he sees a space, he'll run into space. You'll bring a few players and put the ball away in the right times. Why does a Willie get that and not the Elton? And that I won't put down necessarily to a plan necessarily. But if Elton should read the situation, has his confidence so low that he's too scared to take it on? Is the case of like, I see the space, but I'm not going to do because I'm under instruction to kick the ball and to do what I'm supposed to do. So how do you, where does Elton switch on and say, listen, but, between the game plan and me reading a situation, ek bedoel hy skop van that he kicked across field to
Colby's side.
To Colby. It was a clear one-on-one situation, and if you have Colby on a one-on-one with a player in front of him and with enough space, you beat him loose hands. I think Colby even showed, I watched the highlights, Colby even showed like pass.
Yeah, Colby asking him to pass the ball. To pass the ball.
Exactly. And you wonder yourself now, what happened to Elton? His confidence that low that he's too scared to take on that opportunities, and just to make sure that he's doing the basics right. But at the same time, he's not doing the basics right. So I think that's the frustrations that a lot of fans have, is that they're waiting for Elton to grab it by the scruff of the neck. At the same time, we know, coming up as an impact player, easy. A great impact player, he's a great off the bench guy. Then the other question I have is, Heini, would a guy, and we asked about Manie Libbok. Manie Libbok is probably one of the most on-form fly-offs in South Africa, this last season in South Africa. Is this the reason why Manie wasn't picked? Is this the reason why Manie wasn't in the squad? Is that the reason? Because we know Manie, if he sees it, he's going to play it. Is that the reason why Manie is? Because everybody's been shouting, Manie should deserve a shot on the bench. We have two fly-offs, one that hasn't had game time. Pollard as well. Pollard's been injured for a while and he's very injury-prone lately. Who's our third choice? Is the Hendrikse the next one, or are we going to look at Manie, hopefully? But does Manie fall into that line that Jacques sees as being a fly-off role for the Boks?
Yeah, I think before we get to Manie, I think we have Jordan Hendrikse. But to touch on your point, to leave out Manie, Libbok, or Jordan Hendrikse was a mistake. It was a mistake. It's a total oversight from the Springbok coaching staff, and perhaps they would have their reasons. I'll tell you why it's a mistake.
Yeah.
Pollard's return to Springbok rugby was well documented. He was never going to play in the first test. We knew that. They should have known that.
Yeah.
Elton Jantjies, his conditioning, he played 6 weeks ago. His conditioning was well documented. He even had a court case hanging over his head, and they select two fly-ups. Now, it's a very strange decision. We know that some of our local media documented that Willie Leroux is training at fly-up. when they subbed Elton on Saturday, I was actually perplexed. I was really perplexed that they would play with Willie Leroux and Damian Willemse, and they did not have a recognized Springbok flyer, not in the team, in the squad. They do not even have a recognized flyer in the broader squad. Now, I think they were hoping that Elton would come good. Elton would be training with the side. Elton would acclimatize very quickly, and then Henry Pollard would just in the second test match slot into it. But I think that is a slight of an oversight, because if you want to make 14 changes to a Springbok side, you have the luxury to do so. You have a luxury also to then select a third flyer and bleed a guy like a Mani Lebok or a Hendricks or whoever they want. In this scenario, there was a room for a third flyer in the squad. So yeah, it's a very strange decision, and my opinion, and like I'm saying, I'm just a guy speaking on on as a fan. I still believe it's an oversight. It was really, really strange. Even when we saw the squad, we saw Johan Goosen was lurking there in the background, whether he was part of the squad or not. Johan Goosen was hy is die tweede beste na Chris Smith, was Amone Steyn, dan Johan Goosen. So ek dink Johan was self verras toe sy naam uitgelees word. Hy het ook seker agteroor geval. And we knew that he wasn't conditioned to play in the series. So in that position it was very, very strange. Moving on, speaking about the 14 changes, we just want the opinion of yourself, Barry. 14 veranderinge. Ja. Dit wil sê, rugby span bestaan uit 15 spelers en Jacques Nienaber het 14 veranderinge gemaak. Kom ons loer gou na die Springbok span. Dit is 'n Springbok span met 14 changes teen Wallis. En die Walliese media is nie gelukkig nie. Ek het gesien hulle called it absolutely disrespectful. Daar het jy 'n totale overhaul van 'n span. Vanaf nommer 15 regdeur. Ek dink die enigste man wat oorbly is Eben Etzebeth van die beginspan wat laasweek gespeel het. Dis 'n opwindende span en definitief nie 'n span wat lugballetjies wil rondjaag nie. Daar werk 'n paar opwindende balspelers in hierdie span en ek is absoluut bly om die nommer 8 Ivan Roos in die beginspan te sien.
Yeah, nee, I was going to say, Mensa, if you missed it, we had Evan Roos on the show. We called him to be a buck, and today it came through. Well, this week at least. He's going to be on Saturday at least. But, if you look at this team, it's very exciting. Like you mentioned now, there's a lot of talent in. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited about that back three. I think Warwick at the back directing things in space would be an absolute, a nice, refreshing look after what we've seen on this weekend's game, especially in that first half where we just played it safe. I think Warwick is a great player. He has a great eye for space, and I think he has a great eye for recognizing when the opportunity arises. I'm very excited about him. I'd like to see Kurtley Arendse get some more ball. In my picks in the back line, that would be fantastic to see. I'm still up about Jesse Kriel. He had his moments in the Springbok team. Whether he can perform on this level remains to be seen. It's a pity about Fassi being on wing. I would like to have also seen him, and I'm sure in the second half they'll probably do a swap and have him at fullback, because again we know what he can deliver. Jaden also exciting player. Andre, we know what he can do, and if Andre is playing on the front foot flat, we know that Andre can play some beautiful front ball rugby. But yes, to your point, the pack looks absolutely solid. It looks like a team that has to be reckoned with, in the pack. And I think it's good. I think this team was obviously, making that also changes. This was planned way before, and this was not just done, before the weekend. So that's the guys who want to give certain guys a run. I think they definitely knew it. I see a lot of people that were up in arms about Sia not being in the team. But why question Sia? Yes, he might not. He wasn't, in the greatest form in the Shark setup this season. But we know the caliber of player that Sia is. Why question this man? He had a fantastic series against the Lions. He did some great donkey work. In the tight five, in the fourth pack at least. And we know he can do what he can do. Why question his selection? I think it was really just a case of this was a plan, oval. It wasn't necessarily done on the day. But yeah, it's good to see, and it's good to see the depth that we have. I mean, the amount of play. Look at this play. This is any team would love this depth going into the second team. How many years have we been looking at the All Blacks and saying, but they can put up 3 teams. We can possibly put up 4 teams. Looking at this depth that we have at this moment.
Yeah, and I would love to see the loose forward combination have a proper go.
Yes.
Ivan Roos, Pieter Steep de Tooy, and Martial Coetzee. So if there are any All Black supporters online, just look at this team and remember that those loose trios, the loose trios that you are looking at now, apart from Pieter Steep de Tooy, that make a case, they are not our first choice. I think Ivan Roos might even be our third choice number 8 at present, behind Dwayne Vermeulen and Jasper Wiese. And then you have Martial Coetzee, and then on the bench, making his debut at a very, very tender age, it's Dion Fourie. I think also a guy that will come off the bench. So to the All Blacks, the English and Australian supporters, kyk gou mooi na hierdie spannetjie. Dit is eintlik die Springbokke, baie van hierdie spelers is dit die Springbokke se naasbeste span. Maar vir Wallis wat galbraak oor Nienaber se spankeuses, if you also look very closely, you have a few guys with a World Cup medal in their in their closet. So this is not a team that you would call disrespectful. It is just a sign now that Jacques Nienaber and his coaching staff, they are trialing some of these players. And obviously we know for Rugby World Cup 2023, only a limited number of spots available. Hier is 'n goeie span, Alberic. Ek sal gelove it om jy weet om 'n Lucanio Am in hierdie agterlyn te hê met sy deep touches, net om manne weg te sit. Hy sou natuurlik die glue gewees het wat ouens soos Kurtley Arendse, Fassie, Warwick geland en dis meer aan die hardloop sou kry daar agter. Hy is nie daar nie, so die onus dan natuurlik op Andre Esterhuizen en Jesse Kriel om seker te maak dat Kurtley, Warwick en Fassie dan ook Damien Willems as hy van die bank afkom, dat hulle aan die gang kom hierdie Saterdag. Dit is 'n span wat ons natuurlik jy weet ons gaan vingers moet kruis dat Wallis jy weet met hulle ervare kampioens nie aan die gang kom nie, maar kom ons kyk of hierdie span kan wegstap met die wen hierdie Saterdag teen Wallis. Ons het dan ook vir die
sorry, and one more point as well, and I'm very excited about two positions on the bench at least. Is obviously Grant Williams. And I'm also excited about Dion Fourie. I think those two would bring some nice impetus into the second half. We know what Dion Fourie can do, and obviously Grant as well. I think there'll be some nice impetus into the second half when they come off the bench. I'm pretty excited about it.
Nee, versekerende man wat sy plek in daai span verdien. Dion Fourie wat fantastiese rugby gespeel het vir die Stormers in die URC hierdie jaar en ek is regtig bly dat hy sy kans gaan kry. Kom ons hoop dat hy op die veld verskyn. En sodoende dan sy buiging vir die Springbokke maak teen Wallis hierdie komende Saterdag. Ons het ook vir die fans daar buite gevra, kykie stuur vir ons 'n bietjie van julle fans fan mail en ons het natuurlik 'n WhatsApp lyn en ons het nou nie baie respons gekry nie, maar daar was ek dink een respons wat ons laat skater lag het en dan natuurlik hierdie foto, is Sinclair Witboy en sy seun Zealand daar staan nie man, ek dink Sinclair sê dis my boys first rugby game that they're going to watch together en natuurlik het Sinclair seker gemaak dat hy reg aangetrek is en daardie foto natuurlik die foto wat ons hierdie week wil feature die Springbokke wat hulle harte laat bly klop het al het dit tot in die doodsnikke gegaan LB.
Yeah, no, it's I mean William Breakies also came through with a smash and grab. Literally smash and grab, guys. I mean it was open up. It would have been very embarrassing, guys. I mean, I was actually very surprised that that Wales actually decided with a minute or a few seconds to go to kick the ball away. I thought they would keep it, and a draw for them would have been a win. So that's surprising, but definitely a smash and grab. Well done, William. As you can nail in the head there.
Yeah, and I think the Springbok forwards just they got into it in the second half. We know what the Springboks can do if they start mauling away. They really got stuck in, and there were many times that I actually saw the try coming, and that was missing in the first half. apart from some of execution problems. But I think Jacques Nienaber and his coaching staff would probably sleep much better after the second half performance of the Springboks. Not because they came from behind. I think they were just much more clinical. It looked better. It looked like the Springboks side that we know can really take the game by its neck with the forwards. And they really played well in the second half. Unlucky for Wales, but I still believe that there will be a lot to play for this Welsh team. And they will have a lot of confidence because they saw the Springbok side now. And their media saying, disrespectful teenoor ons Wallis se span. Hoe kan sy 14 changes maak? Ja, ons kan 14 changes maak. Ons wil eintlik 15 gemaak het, maar ons een slot het nou nie so lekker gevoel nie. Toe moet ons vir Eben Etzebeth nog 'n kansie gee. So natuurlik alles op die spel in hierdie tweede toets. As Suid-Afrika omdeurraak, is die series dan ook dan in die sakkie teen Wallis. Maar LB, daar was ook 'n paar ander rugby wedstryde en ons het 'n paar All Black supporters ook aanlyn. Ons moet hom seker inloer daarso en wat 'n vertoning van die Nieu-Seelandse span. Vir 'n oomblik gelyk of Ierland daar is vir die long haul, man. Dit was 20 minute van glorie in die eerste helfte vir Ierland en daarna was dit all the way All Blacks. Daardie telling vlei so 'n bietjie vir Ierland. Ek dink die All Blacks was oor hulle in die tweede helfte like nobody's business.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think you can't write the All Blacks down. Come on, man. I mean, before the season started, people were like, hey, this is Ireland's best shot at winning, the All Blacks in New Zealand. But come on, look at 42-19. Yeah, I mean, look, there's no opportunity. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's definitely going to be a 3-0 whitewashing. And especially the fact that Sexton came off. So the fact that Sexton was, we know what he can bring. And I think he's out for the second test, if I'm not mistaken. And the fact that he came off, I think it's going to be a huge knock. I'm not too sure if that second, I can't remember his name, the reserve fly-off came on. I'm not too sure if he is, he is available. Well, not available. He can step up to the plate as Sexton would. But also a nice, good win for Australia against England. Wow. Obviously, I think their last two tries were scored in the last couple of minutes of the second half for England. But Australia convincing winners, especially with the fact that they were, a man down from the first half with a red card. For them to come back and win that game,
big win,
massive win, big statement as well. So look at those two results, and also looking at Argentina and what they've accomplished against Scotland. The rugby championship teams showing what they're worth on the side of the hemisphere, and obviously making sure that we remain, top of the pile when it comes to international rugby.
No, for sure. And I think, Ireland, they have a lot to think about now because the series is still, it's still, I would say, it's still very young, although the first test they lost convincingly. They started very well. I think the first try that they scored, the first try of the match, was one of the better team tries I've seen for quite a while, building up the play very well, going through the phases, getting the ball wide when it needs to go wide, and rounding up a very good team effort. And then I was thinking, you know what, this is going to be a big match for the All Blacks. Bowden Barrett couldn't get into the match, and all of a sudden they get two tries against the run of play. One that Sevories, I would almost want to say intercept, but just a loose pass by Gary Ringrose, picked up by Sevories, and from there on in, it was almost as to say all she wrote. We didn't have a response apart from the second half. I think when the second half started, I think Ireland scored again, but it wasn't a convincing performance after the first 20 minutes by Ireland at all. And I don't know what to read into this result, Alberic, because let's be honest, we have our one eye on New Zealand, and we know what they can do leading up to a Rugby World Cup. Are they that good to thump an Ireland side that should be really, really much closer to New Zealand? Or is it a case where we see an Irish side that learn from their mistakes and hopefully they can bounce back? Maybe not win New Zealand in New Zealand, but hopefully they can bounce back and get that margin much, much smaller in the second test.
I think the big question is, and it's I won't say it's a concern necessarily, we've chatted about it, is the fact that, the Super Rugby teams, New Zealand and Australia, thrashed their opponents. They totally thrashed their opponents. I mean, we were lucky to win against Wales. Let's call a spade a spade. We were extremely lucky to win that game. So, if you look at the way New Zealand and Australia played, they really, we can almost say we want to, not necessarily say we write off the Aussies and the All Blacks come, because of the fact that they're playing together on their side, and they're playing, each other in the Pacific Islands, obviously. But they are still going to be counted for. This result just shows that, the kind of rugby that they dish up is going to be something that we're always going to have to make sure that we can have the answers to. And yes, going back to what we said about the the Springboks game plan, is do we have a game plan that can counter that move? They can easily put you down 14-0 after 3 minutes, and then you wonder what hit you. Do we have the game plan to take them on? It remains to be seen. But this year it's definitely going to be it's going to be a very interesting tussle. The All Blacks haven't played in South Africa for a long while, so that's going to be interesting to see if they can put one past the box in South Africa.
No, for sure. And going silently about their things is the silent assassin called France.
Yes.
They obviously will be lurking there, and yes, certainly one of the favorites to lift that trophy next year. We've seen what they can do. They have a very, very good side. For some time, I think it was about 50 minutes, Japan, valiantly keeping themselves, within touching distance, but it was never going to be for this Japanese side. I think, to put my neck out, I think it's going to be perhaps a 3-horse race leading into the Rugby World Cup. It's going to be between France, New Zealand, and South Africa. And then we certainly not taking our eyes off the Australian side. The Australian side will only do well if Quade Cooper does well, en Eddie Jones se Engelse side, dink ek 'n buiteper wat vir alle intents and purposes uit die running is vir die World Cup. Hulle lyk vir my net na 'n span wat, ek weet nie, Alberic, they just look like a side that they need something fresh. I don't know where it will come from, but this England side, they need something fresh. En as hulle nie 'n 14 man van Australië gaan kloppie, dan weet ek nie waar hulle insig gaan kry en waar hulle 'n bietjie energie gaan kry om terug te kom in hierdie kort tyd om gereed te wees om met die groot kanonne stemdruk te maak volgende jaar.
Yeah, it's just very strange that they got a very good coach in Eddie, and we know what he can deliver. But yeah, just the overall, I'm not too sure if it's you got to have a very exciting fly off. Was it Smith? You have some nice players. You have Owen Farrell on inside center, which is obviously solid. He knows how to tackle. I'm saying it tongue in cheek. But yeah, you got a exciting backline that would be able to do something. Sometimes the pack of forwards isn't like the traditional, pack of forwards that we are accustomed to when England do take the field. I mean, we know that England's forwards are always dominant. We've always, prepared for that. Any team playing them would prepare for that. But they don't seem to kind of, they don't put that respect that they should be getting in the forward pack. You have Mario Toja, and sometimes you always feel like these guys are playing almost on their own sometimes. And that's just my opinion watching them. I think the only game that they actually had some cohesion was the win against the All Blacks in the World Cup, where you could actually see England's rugby on their finest. They had a dominant forward pack, exciting backline play. But yeah, that since then I hardly recall them actually putting a performance like that together.
No, for sure, and we hope really for rugby's sake, and there's a lot can happen in a week's time, but let's hope that this coming week, England perhaps they will get it right. There we have the fixtures. Die manne se lemonades gaan weer Vrydag aand hulle in die yskas in, dat dit Saterdagoggend lekker koud gaan wees. Saterdagoggend vroeg sien ons weer dat skote klap. Frankryk en Japan. Japan wat hierdie keer, jy weet, miskien dalk 'n bietjie nader wil kom. Ek dink hulle het goed begin in hierdie wedstryd. Dit was daar sou in elk geval net een wenner wees, en dis Frans en ek dink Frankryk behoort daardie enetjie gemaklik weer te wen. Nieu-Seeland en Ierland, ek dink Ierland gaan terugkom in hierdie ene Elberg. Miskien het hulle ten minste skiet goed sonder Johnny Sexton om vir Nieu-Seeland te klop, maar ek dink nie. Hulle gaan verskriklik baie hanteerfoute van hierdie Ierse span. Hulle all of a sudden het hulle net 'n bietjie uitgeval en ek dink hulle gaan terugwees. En dan het ons Australië teen Engeland, baie interessante fixture. Moenie vir Engeland afskryf nie. Ek het so pas vir Engeland afgeskryf, maar moenie vir Engeland afskryf nie. Ek dink Eddie Jones, as niks baie bitter vir Eddie Jones as om teen Australië te verloor nie. Suid-Afrika teen Wallis met 'n 14 veranderinge, dink ek ons gaan lekker hardloop rugby sien in hierdie wedstryd en dan dink ek die Argentyne net weer te sterk vir Skotland in hierdie een. As weer lekker rugby Alberg, ons gaan weer met 2 televisies voor met sit hierdie naweek.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think obviously, you know, all eyes are going to be glued from Saturday morning, like you mentioned. To have some very exciting games. Obviously, I think the pick for me, you know, if Ireland do pitch up, is the Ireland All Black game, because it always for me was the one that was gonna, you know, could go either way. You know, similarly Australia and England as well. But Ireland with their backs against the wall, one test down, surely you have to come out the blocks and just play, you know, the way Ireland can play. We know they can play. And it's going to be a huge test of character for them to make sure that they can actually put one on the All Blacks without the Johnny Sexton. That might just galvanize the team and, you know, put something against the All Blacks. Because if you watch the game, and I watched the highlights, you know, 2 days ago again, there were moments of brilliance, like we mentioned, from the All Blacks. You know, they counter-attack. The Silvery strike was a turning point, I think, that kind of just, you know, took the wind out of the Irish sails. But there were moments where Ireland could actually have taken it and scored 1 or 2, you know, tries if the bounce of the ball was favoring them. And hopefully that can turn around this coming weekend. Hopefully they can actually show, but hold up, this is our, you know, every day we're going to play New Zealand in New Zealand, and one test down, throw everything at the All Blacks.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we're looking forward to these games. A big thing that has been a modern approach by teams that are defensive, and I want just to touch on this, and maybe if there are anybody online, maybe to comment on this. We have a modern approach, and we've seen it against Ireland. The teams have this notion of kicking down the middle of the field. Now, there's a reason for that. There's a coaching reason for that, and the reason is obviously to try and squeeze your opponents into either kicking it back, or when they do need to run, they need to run at your defense, at your forward play might be in the middle of the field. So that is the reason. But if there's one team that you don't kick down the middle of the field, it's against the All Blacks. The reason for that is it's one. You cannot kick against them down the middle of the field. You try and pin them in the corner because the touch line is your friend. You can maneuver them there. If there's one side you don't kick the ball, and Johnny Sexton did it twice, and then they had this flyer. He kicks the ball right down Jordie Barrett's throat, and Jordie Barrett would then run at them. And because the All Blacks have these mobile forwards in Adi Savaya, they have this great running captain, Sam Kane. They even played, I think, you know, a guy that is more known to play lock. They played him at flank. They have these mobile guys. They just get behind the ball runner so fast. So the ball runner would try and get the retrieving players of his side to try and play them onside. But because they are so mobile, they get behind them. And all of a sudden, you have just given away the ball and you've transversed attack into defense. And it's a very silly tactic against the All Blacks because they have all of them in the back line. Bowden Barrett, Jordie Barrett, Will Jordan didn't play, but Sevu Reece. They have got all of these guys that can really rip you apart if they kick down the middle. You can try it with the Springboks, because a guy like Willie might knock the ball back thrice or 4 times or 5 times, try and knock the ball back. Jordie Barrett will do it once or twice, but the 3rd time is just going to punish you. And I hope that Ireland learned from that they would rather try and kick in the corners and try and pin them back there instead of trying to just knock it senselessly, knock it down the middle and give the dangerous All Black side an opportunity to counterattack. Having said that, Alberic, they actually defended well for some time, Ireland, because there were a lot of times where the All Blacks just got in behind them and then they scrambled. Hence, I'm saying it could have been 50 or more against them, but they did defend well at some stages. And then the unlucky, you said they were over the line 3 times, and it just didn't happen. Perhaps one call that could have been a high tackle or a penalty try, that is debatable as well. So there was a lot of instances. But if they kick better and they just do the basics better against the All Blacks, you do boring. You get them into the wrong territories, you mold them up. Die Springbok het die resep. Hulle moet net vir Rassie bel en Rassie self hulle presies sê hoe jy die All Blacks back-to-back klop.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I think that's the crux of what we've gotten right against the All Blacks over the last 2 years or so. Is the fact that our rush defense is a key, but also being able to close down their space. Either chip over that rush defense, how do we counter that? And Willie, yes, he might have knocked the ball on once or twice, but Willie, when he sees the opportunity, when he gets that ball, in space, the same like a Jody Barrett, is gonna attack. So yes, it's always dangerous to do that against the All Blacks. But I think with the pack of forwards that the Irish have, I think they can really give the All Blacks a run for their money.
Yes.
There's moments I think that the Irish were they looked like they were dominating certain moments, but then you think to yourself, but how did they get obliterated in a scrum, for example? You think, but now where's that pack that was looking a bit the front, and then they lose that momentum. So the Irish can do it. It's a possibility. Obviously, with any game, it's a 50-50 thing. But with the amount of ball that they got, because the All Blacks actually, I think there was the tackle count was something like 200 to like 100 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. All Blacks doing most of the tackling. They were defending for most of the game, which means that the tries they were scored were off a turnover ball or loose balls that were scored, and that's what exactly happened. Intercepts or balls, but for the spot, a guy chips it through and he scores a try, like Civil Reese, for example. So there's opportunities that they need to grab hold of. What the Springboks have done well over the last while is if you look at since the game in Wellington against the All Blacks, is they were struck twice with 2 tries in the first, I think, opening 10 minutes or 12 minutes. The Boks have been able to transition very quickly sometimes into attack, and then Willie scoring, Colby, getting a ball. That was very, very sharp from the Springboks to make sure that we can win those situations, being 14-0 down against the All Blacks in New Zealand. Irish team, I don't see them, if the All Blacks are ahead by 14 points, I don't see them coming back. It's impossible to see them coming back from that deficit. But again, like I said, anything is possible, and I hope they can, bring the goods come Saturday against the All Blacks.
No, for sure. We are all very, very excited to have a look, and obviously, once again, the Saturday we have opportunity to gauge these teams to see how far the Springboks have come, but also if we are still lagging behind, how far we are behind. And I don't believe we are very far behind. I think we are certainly one of one of those in the leading pack. But having said that, 45 minutes, julle weet natuurlik 8 uur gaan ek in pik donker sit hierso, dankzij Eskom. So Eskom van my kant af, we encourage a culture of recognition, maar yes, ek weet nie, dit gaan maar moeilik wees om iets goed van julle te sê. So dankie vir daai geleentheid om net iets van my bors te kry.
Ek wil ek sê ons gas wat nie elke week kon gekom het hy van Eskom en maar anyway.
Ja, hulle pas nie nou by jou slogan nie. As al die geleentheid Eskom om julleself te redeem en moontlik kan julle die bracket maak waar ons kan sê dankie vir julle goeie werk in gemeenskappe. Op die oomblik you are lagging behind slightly, so you don't make the cut for this series of the Têkkel Talk Show. Alberic, altyd lekker om jou te gesels, maar ons moet vir die mense sê, almal vra, gaan julle weer op Facebook wees? Ons wil graag op hierdie YouTube kanaal wees. Daar is natuurlik redes vir dit. Ons het voorheen ook 'n bietjie gesukkel om footage in te kry op Facebook, want Facebook baie sensitief. Hulle sê altyd, dit is die hele musiekie, dit is die hele ditie, en dan baie van ons episodes word of op hold gesit, of het word question, en daarom is ons op YouTube. So subscribe op hierdie blad asseblief, mense, subscribe gerus, daar het julle gaan na ons blad toe, subscribe, raak 'n subscriber en dan het ons YouTube lyn natuurlik. Sinclair en daai ouens het gereageer op YouTube. Praat Saterdag saam ons op YouTube. Tong in die kies man. Al is dit net iets waar jy vir ons net iets wil sê om te sê, yes, kyk hoe skop hy Elton Jantjies mis. Gooi daai WhatsApp, ons is live op WhatsApp, ons sal respond. En dan wil ons natuurlik hê dat julle moet gewoond raak op ons nuwe platform. Ons weet, as Brent wat net sê, kom Brent lag.
Nou het ek oor Eskom ene.
Ja, vir Eskom, ja, lag seker vir Eskom. Maar ons wil hê julle moet betrokke raak op YouTube. Dit is ons nuwe platform. Dit gaan 'n bietjie stadig op die oomblik. Ons weet mense sit nou weer vanaand 8uur waar die ligte aan is, gaan hulle 8uur inskakel op Facebook. Ek is nie 8uur daar nie. 8uur is loadshedding, maar volgende week hooplik. Kom ons hoop ons beweeg nie na tyd 7 toe nie, maar volgende week daar's Jordan Hendrikse, daar's 'n comment daar van die ouens wat sê Jordan Hendrikse wat gaan deurkom, ons hou ons oog op hom. Volgende week gaan ons weer 8uur na toe skuif. 8uur is natuurlik 'n lekker geleentheid, maar dan as jy klaar geëet, lekker warm al voor die kachelvuur of natuurlik op jou electric blanket en dan skakel jy in op @Têkkel Chat op YouTube, drop julle comments op Facebook. Ons sal weer moontlik hierdie komende Saterdag so 'n klein bietjie gesels voor die toets begin, maar daar's ons WhatsApp lyn 0652188511 0652188511. Pictures, video's, enigiets wat mal is, gooi hom op ons WhatsApp lyn en jy en jou mense kan feature hier.
Voice notes in
Têkkel Talk Show.
Please send us your voice notes. We'd like to hear what you guys say because you get a message and you want to hear. If it's a voice note, you can hear the passion. So send us if it's as jy wat screenshots or loza or whatever. Please send us a message, guys. We'd love. We'll fly it on the show. Make sure it's on the on WhatsApp to us or by the Wednesday before the show, so we could fly.
Maar nou sien jy op die lyn hier, nou voice notes deur op WhatsApp gekom, guys. Ons kan hom nie net live speel nie. Ons doen 'n bietjie quality assurance. Dit is 'n familie show. So as 'n risiko om 'n voice note net te play sonder dat ek hom gehoor het of hy al baie het geluister het. So kry hom in tussen nou en volgende week Woensdag. Ons luister graag daarna en ons drag hom in die show in. LB, weer eens 'n lekker gesels en kom ons hoop die Bokke doen dit hierdie komende Saterdag.
Lekker, it's going to be awesome. There's a whole thumbs that we can bring it through and comfortably through, which we know the Boks can do, and I think that's all that we as Bok fans. And I just want to add one more thing. I really hope Elton gets another opportunity come the third test. We win this test comfortably, we give Elton a shot. And Elton, if you hear this message, grab it with both hands because we know you can.
There we had it. Van die Alberik af, een van die grootste Elton Jantjies fans aan buitekant. Ek weet, hy love die bedie hoe Elton rugby speel. En Elton sal terugwees. En wie weet, in die doodsnikke van die rugby wêreldbeker finaal 2023 doen Elton Jantjies wat net hy kan. En hy vat die Bokke oor die lyn vir back-to-back World Cup titles. Kom ons hoop so. Tot volgende week dan julle daar aanlyn. Baie dankie. Dit was 'n bietjie stil aanlyn gewees vanaand, maar ons volgende week maak ons weer so. Volgende week hoop ons hoop om volgende week ons te gas opgelaai. En daardie gas is gereed om in die Têkkelspan te gesels. Kom ons hoop die ligte bly aan. Tot dan. Het Têkkel Chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Ja, baie groete in die Kaap en vir die mense in Gauteng, Weskus, Namakoland, alles wat mooi is. Stay safe. Encourage a culture of recognition. Tot dan. Groete.